You don't need to be a Supreme Kai to know how much of an influence the Dragon Ball Z series has had on the world. But there's a lot more to this franchise than just fast fights, spiky hair, and screaming at the top of your lungs. With over $5 billion in franchise sales, DBZ is a cornerstone of Japanese animation and a cultural phenomenon. And the tale of Goku and friends has had more twists and turns than Snake Way. Despite its impact, DBZ is only one part of the story. The Dragon Ball franchise has spawned 4 original series, 19 movies, over 500 chapters of manga, nearly 100 video games, and all kinds of ridiculous memes and debates about power levels. So, take a break from your training, take a bite out of a senzu bean, and take a grand tour with us through the untold truth of Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Boy. You might think Goku's story began with Akira Toriyama's first Dragon Ball manga in a 1984 issue of Weekly Shonen Jump, but his origins start way before that. Toriyama, who'd already won multiple awards for his hit comedy manga Dr. Slump, wanted to do something drastically different for his next project. Mixing together sexual humor and early 80s Jackie Chan-esque action comedy, Toriyama made the manga Dragon Boy, which served as a short prototype to the Dragon Ball story. A year later, Toriyama started a new Shonen Jump manga series with Dragon Boy as its jumping-off point, and the rest is history. Literally. Journey to the West. For inspiration in turning Dragon Boy into the long-running Dragon Ball, Toriyama and his team turned to older folklore, in particular the 16th century novel Journey to the West. The story featured the inspirations for Son Goku, the Power Pole weapon, the flying Nimbus Cloud, Bulma, Oolong the shape-shifting pig, Yamcha the desert bandit, the Ox King, and his castle on a fiery hill. According to Toriyama's editor, Kazuhiko Torishima, using these details to help hang the story on was a matter of convenience. As Torishima puts it, adding elements from Journey to the West to the Dragon Boy story was his idea. He says the biggest reason for that was it was a free intellectual property, as it was very old. In addition, when you need to make a long-running manga series, you need to add a lot more features. So when we moved Dragon Boy to a long-running story format, that's when the Journey to the West elements came in. The idea of gathering the 7 Dragon Balls to summon Shenron, the wish-granting eternal dragon, was heavily inspired by the early 1800s novel Nanso Satomi Hakkenden, also known as the 8 Dogs Chronicles. Hakkenden's story depicted a princess who gave birth to 8 crystal balls after getting freaky with a dog. The crystal balls then flew into the sky and scattered across the world, just like the Dragon Balls do after a wish, but became people instead. Considering the world of Dragon Ball features all kinds of anthropomorphic animals, the inspiration is pretty clear. Good thing they left out most of the gross stuff. Goku grows up. When enthusiasm for Dragon Ball began to dwindle, Torishima and Toriyama decided to drastically change things, putting Goku on a quest to become the strongest person ever, and the series' emphasis shifted from comedy to action. As a result, the final arc of Dragon Ball was the Piccolo Jr. saga, which featured the most intense fights of the series. Goku was growing up. Engagement with Dragon Ball spiked during the action-filled final saga, leaving fans clamoring for a continuation of the story. Torishima later spoke about how they came up with the title of Dragon Ball's sequel series. I went and asked Toriyama for his input, and he answered immediately by saying, Dragon Ball Z, because this is last, nothing comes after this. DBZ was meant to be the end for Goku's story multiple times, usually with him passing the torch to another hero. Initially, the Frieza saga was meant to be the final chapter, which shouldn't surprise anyone who's seen it. In that story, the franchise's longest fight, Goku beats the strongest, most evil character in the universe and ascends to an unbeatable form. The planet-ending saga was so epic it seemed like a natural conclusion. But there would still be a long way to go and many more transformations before the series truly came to an end. East meets West, and vice versa. What does a franchise do when its creative team runs out of ideas? Go to space or travel through time, and DBZ did both. As the Super Saiyan success story continued, Toriyama kept introducing more Western tropes. Goku's alien backstory, abnormal strength, and alien heritage was inspired by the lore of Superman. Goku, just like Superman originally did, landed on Earth as a baby and was raised like any other human. He grew to fight members of his nearly extinct race trying to conquer Earth. More story turns inspired by Western media include the outer space adventure to Namek, which was largely influenced by Star Wars, as well as the following Android saga, which took inspiration from the Terminator movies. Terminator 2 Judgment Day hit theaters in July 1991. By November of that year, DBZ started a story arc featuring a badass guy going through time, trying to prevent an apocalyptic future where cyborgs exterminated humanity. It helps explain why the series became such an international phenomenon. It's influenced by enduring stories from all over the world. Censorship and controversies. As the series entered the North American market, a lot of changes were made in the translation, mostly to make the series come off as more kid-friendly. All instances of death, heaven, and hell were altered. Vegeta wasn't killing Frieza's men, he was simply sending them to the next dimension. The shirts on the ogres living there reading hell were partially altered to look like the letters HFIL, standing for the Home for Infinite Losers. Mr. Satan's name was changed to Hercule, and scenes of cigarettes, blood, alcohol, nudity, and middle fingers were all removed. Changes have continued with re-airings of the show on different networks, such as when the CW changed up Mr. Popo's look to make him look less like a jarring blackface caricature. We get the idea, but it kind of just makes Mr. Popo look like a weirdly racist genie from Aladdin.
I rollerbladed all along the Great Wall.
I even made the famous Leaning Tower of Pog.
Evolution, God Battles, Resurrection, and beyond. After Dragon Ball Z ended in 1996, Toei Animation wanted to continue the series due to its widespread success. As a result, Dragon Ball GT was created by Toei's staff without any input from Toriyama, except for the series name. GT kept Goku's story going, but it was met with negative reviews, failing to live up to its predecessor without Toriyama at the helm. Save a few specials and movies, Dragon Ball GT's final 1997 episode was the last time television viewers in Japan would get to see Goku and the gang for a long time. During this time, Dragon Ball Z was just starting to take off in North America. When the episodes ran out, Dragon Ball was spun off into the live-action Dragon Ball Evolution, loosely based on the original Dragon Ball story. It's not a great adaptation.
Meet Lord Piccolo. He'll take on anyone to unleash his vengeance on the world.
I can't stand it!
Toei tested the waters for the franchise's return in 2009 with Dragon Ball Kai, a redubbed, whittled-down version of DBZ with updated animation. The success of that series led to a revival of the franchise, with Toriyama returning for 2013's successful Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods movie. In its home country, it was a big deal. The movie opened at the top of the Japanese box office and made its mark as the first Japanese film to ever screen in IMAX. The movie's critical and commercial success opened the door for something fans never expected: a whole new series, Dragon Ball Super. So what's next for the Dragon Ball franchise? Only time and Goku's Fists of Fury will tell. Thanks for watching. Click the looper icon to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Plus, check out all this cool stuff we know you'll love too.